Good Shabbos again, everyone, and good morning. Sometimes I like to check the numbers, and I hear stories about the declining religious affiliation of Americans, mostly from parents who are concerned for their children and grandchildren. And these worries come from a place of deep love and wanting the next generation to feel as connected to the parts of life that parents and grandparents feel are sacred. Sometimes I like to read the statistics to punch through all the stories, and here's what I found. Even if we feel as though God is taking a back seat, America is still one of the most religious countries in the world. According to a recent Pew Research Center poll, 88% of Americans carry a deeply held belief in God, the vast majority of whom hold that belief with certainty. Even with Judaism, which encourages doubt and questioning, the number is still quite high. 78% of American Jews espouse a belief in God. And while there is a decline with younger generations carrying more doubts in their beliefs than their parents and grandparents, the number of avowed atheists tops out at 26%. That means only 1/4 of young millennials say they don't believe in God. The vast majority, 74%, are believers in God. So why are less young Jewish adults attending services than previous generations? I don't believe God is the problem. And while there are many reasons, today I want to address one challenge. One I think we can overcome. I've met too many young people who feel that religion is not worth their time because it doesn't make them better people. They know of too many religious people who aren't so great. We've all been affected by fundamentalists, jihadists, who've hijacked a good religion to kill innocents. We know of clergy members of the Christian faith who've had adulterous affairs. We know even of rabbis who've done awful things. For example, you may remember Rabbi Yeshurun Goldstein. He was that Chabad rabbi in Poway, California, who rose to national prominence after being wounded in an anti-Semitic shooting at his Chabad house a few years ago. He was a hero until he was exposed as a perpetrator of a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. And he was sentenced just 2 weeks ago to 14 months in prison. When there are religious Jews who seem to do it all, keep kosher, observe Shabbat, attend services often, but aren't so kind or love to gossip or cheat in business, even if there's just one of them, one is too many. And our tradition is very clear. Using an idea from our Torah portion this morning, we're reminded to overlay the Ark, the Mishkan, with pure gold, both on the outside and on the inside. Mibayit u'michutz. And the Torah is teaching us that even if no one sees the inside of the Ark, it must nevertheless be pure. And from this, the rabbis remind us, any religious Jew who is not the same kind of person in private as they are in public is not truly religious. What an important reminder for all of us. Don't use outward observances. Don't use an outward appearance to make it seem you're a righteous person. Instead, use the beautiful observances of our tradition to develop a righteous character on the inside. Because truly, that's what it's about. Use the beauty of our traditions, whether it's Shabbat or lighting candles, wearing a tallis, putting on tefillin, whatever it may be. Use those traditions to develop a character, a neshama, a soul that is selfless, humble, righteous, compassionate, and giving. Because our tradition has always been clear. If our observances don't make one a better person, then they're a waste of time. Traditions are there to cultivate our souls for the better, not to make us seem holier than thou, holier than others, above the normal rules of ethics and morals. Don't think you can be a religious scholar or a rabbi and then get away with cheating others. Because Derek Eretz, being a mensch, is the goal of an involved Jewish life. And how you conduct yourself can have an effect on others, one we may not even imagine. I didn't grow up observant. I grew up in a home north of Dallas, in a home that Judaism was important. But I'm more observant today because of the observant people I met who had interactions with me that were actually very good people. I'll never forget one particular religious school teacher we had in our small conservative synagogue in North Dallas, a man named Eddie Fox. He was an observant Jew, but he decided to attend services at a conservative synagogue and teach religious school in my conservative synagogue because he wanted to show the religious school students and the young conservative Jews in my small synagogue that you could be observant and you could also be a fun, involved, and good person. And so almost every Shabbat during our 7th grade year, he would take 2 or 3 of our religious school students, and we would get to go to his home and spend Shabbat with him and his family. And it was the first time in my life that I observed and participated in a real Shabbat dinner, in a beautiful Shabbat. And I saw a man that was not only learned and observant, but was a good father and a wonderful husband who was fun to be with, and was a man that I could learn from. It was an effect on me that's lasted a lifetime. And I remember that encounter always as a reminder to me that perhaps the best way to encourage more of our young to get involved is to show them that being part of synagogue life can make us better people, better wives and better husbands, better fathers and better mothers. And we do it best through our examples. If we're involved in our synagogue and others look upon us as more educated and committed Jews, do they see that being involved in a shul makes us more ethical and moral human beings? How do you and I treat other people? How often do we help someone in need? Do we go above and beyond to make a positive difference? I believe we're very blessed to have some great examples here at Beth Yeshurun. And amongst those great examples are members of our daily minyan of the J.B. Greenfield Chapel. When members lose a loved one and they come to daily minyan to say mourner's Kaddish, they may be lost in the service. It may have been years since they've attended a daily minyan, if ever. But what helps is that those members of the Greenfield Chapel welcome them, they give them support, and they encourage them to take honors as part of the service. And then our members see members who are serious Jews, who are also considerate, thoughtful, kind, and friendly. I hear great stories often, and I've seen it firsthand. And it reminds me of the great story from our tradition. The story is told of 3 potential converts who are sharing their stories of their interactions with the 2 great rabbis of the time, Hillel and Shammai. According to the Talmudic tale, one of the potential converts approaches Hillel and Shammai, the great sages of the first century, with the request. He says to each rabbi, "Teach me the Torah while I stand on one foot." First, he brings this request to Shammai. And according to the tradition, Shammai, after hearing this request, picks up a builder's ruler, smacks him alongside the head, and throws him out of his house. But that man doesn't give up, and he goes on to Hillel with the same request. "Teach me the Torah on one foot." Hillel, the gentle sage, accepts the challenge and says, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Zilgamor, now go and learn." Hillel's answer is loving. It's accepting. Hillel is kind. And that's probably why you've heard of Hillel and you've never heard of Shammai. And the 3 converts agree. Shammai's impatience sought to drive us away from Judaism, but it was Hillel's patience, his welcoming nature, his kindness that brought us beneath the wings of the Jewish tradition. Yes, the great story of Hillel and Shammai that's told often is a story about welcoming the stranger, but more importantly, it's a story about being attracted to something worthwhile. Who is going to join a group? Who wants to get involved somewhere where the people aren't so great? And that's why we must always follow Hillel. We as rabbis, we as Jews, we as members of a congregation use Hillel as the model. It's why synagogues on college campuses are called Hillel houses. The goal is to be like Hillel, to welcome others, to show that Judaism can make us better people, and to bring the essence of the Torah as Hillel responded to the convert, that which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. For our young to want to get more involved, we need to demonstrate to them often that we as a community can make them better people. And it starts by the example we set. Shabbat shalom, everyone.